Gohan Super Saiyan 2 transformation. It's one of the most epic moments in all of Dragon Ball. And so that begs the question, how did the dubs handle this scene? Well, in this edition of my Dragon Ball dub comparison series, I'm gonna be analyzing this scene in order to determine who adapted it best. And for the first time ever, I'm including Dragon Ball Z Abridged in the comparison. Who comes out on top? Well, you gotta watch until the end to find out. If you've watched my previous Dragon Ball dub comparisons, you know how this goes. We start by taking a look at the original dialogue, I then tell you if there's anything interesting or noteworthy there, and then we take a look at the dubs. Well, this time around, we're gonna do things slightly differently. That's because we're not taking a look at the dialogue this time. We're taking a look at the music. Of course, one of the most beloved aspects of Gohan Super Saiyan 2 transformation in the original Japanese version of Dragon Ball Z is the song that was used in that scene. That song is called UNMEI NO HI, Tamashi Tai Tamashi. Literally, that means Day of Destinies, soul versus soul. This is one of the most famous insert songs in all of Dragon Ball Z, and it's the cherry on top of an already incredible moment. Now, that's not to say that Gohan turning Super Saiyan 2 against Cell isn't epic in and of itself. It is, and to be honest, this scene could probably work with just about any song. But UNMEI NO HI doesn't just work, it complements this scene perfectly, and that's by design. Kind of. You see, the thing is that this song was released on December 21st, 1992, as part of the Dragon Ball Z Hit Song Collection 13 Battle and Hope album. But the chapter in which Gohan turned Super Saiyan 2 for the first time wasn't published until February 15th of 1993. That's almost 2 months after the song. And it wasn't until May 5th of 1993 until we got this scene in the anime. So it's totally possible that the team behind UNMEI NO HI didn't even know if this song would be used in the anime. And even if they had been told that it would be used in the anime, they probably didn't even know which scene it would be used in because Toriyama hadn't even written this scene yet. But if you look at the lyrics, it's pretty clear that this song was always intended as a song inspired by Gohan and his role in the story. And that's a huge reason why this song works so well in this scene. So before we get to the dubs, let's take a look at the lyrics really briefly. Now, I'm not going to go over every single line. If you want to do that, you can check out the very good translation that is over at Kanzenshuu. I'm just going to focus on the important points here. First of all, the song starts with a quote from the New Testament. The first line goes, Toki wa michite. Toki wa michite. Basically, this just means the time has come. However, in Bible speak, it's the time is fulfilled. This comes from Mark 1:15. You can see the full quote on screen right now. After this, we get some chanting. O Messiah, O Messiah. O Messiah, O Messiah. This is just O Messiah, O Messiah. And then comes the last part of the intro, which is more chanting. Most people just assume that this chant doesn't mean anything. However, according to a post on the Team 4-Star subreddit, this chant might have come from Hebrew. The post says that this might mean something like, they will confess I am with God, or else. They will confess I am with God, like a bird of prey, I am with God. So does this chanting actually come from Hebrew? Maybe. In fact, I would say it seems likely. But ultimately, whether this chant actually came from Hebrew or not is kind of irrelevant. I say this because it seems pretty clear that it's simply intended as chanting that's supposed to sound vaguely religious and add to this kind of epic vibe that this song has. Anyway, after the intro, the lyrics start to focus on Cell and Gohan. Now, the lyrics don't explicitly say Cell and Gohan, but they're written in such a way where it's not hard at all to apply the lyrics to them in this situation. So first, the song brings up bottomless fear and a wicked soul. Of course, these are just general allusions to evil. But when you place this song within the context of Gohan vs. Cell, it's not a stretch at all to say that they are also allusions to Cell himself. However, after that part, it seems that the song switches to Gohan's perspective. You could say that it's verbalizing what Gohan might be feeling in that moment. The lyrics say, "I cannot lose, I have to surpass myself, gather my energy, and blow away the darkness in order to save the planet." And the person who is singing these lyrics is Kageyama Hironobu. So Kageyama, and that's his last name, is basically the voice of Dragon Ball Z. He did tons of Dragon Ball Z songs, including Chala Head Chala. And that adds yet another incredible layer to this scene. So yes, I love this song. I love how it was implemented into this scene. And I love the fact that this song isn't simply about Gohan being a badass, kicking Cell's ass. It's not just like some hard rock thing and all that kind of stuff. No, it's actually about Gohan's emotional state and why he's choosing to fight. It's about the fact that Gohan wants to save those around him. He wants to protect love itself. He doesn't want to see a planet without love. That's what the lyrics are saying. So now let's take a look at the dubs, and let's begin with the Funimation redub. That is the song that plays on loop during Gohan Super Saiyan 2 transformation in the Funimation redub. And look, I have nothing against the Faulkner score itself. There's some good tracks there that I actually like, but I don't think it works as a soundtrack for Dragon Ball Z. I think that it works for a soundtrack for a 1980s or 1990s action film, or for maybe an early 32-bit video game like from the Sega Saturn. In those situations, perfect. But here, no, and especially not in this scene. Replacing UNMEI NO HI with this? It's awful, in my opinion. Like, it just completely throws away everything that is good about UNMEI NO HI, all that emotion that is there, and it replaces it with but that's not it. There's a few other things that really bother me about how Funimation adapted this scene. Another thing that needs to be pointed out here is the fact that Funimation didn't just replace UNMEI NO HI with no. They actually added in a whole new voiceover. They let you in on what Gohan is thinking in this moment.
16. You love life. You gave everything up to save it. And you were just an android. I let you die. I can't do that. I won't watch anymore. I feel it slipping. And I won't watch this anymore!
And sadly, this voiceover cheapens this scene. It spoon feeds what Gohan is thinking to all the babies watching Dragon Ball Z who can't figure it out for themselves. On the other hand, UNMEI NO HI does allow us to peek into Gohan's psyche for a little bit, but it also magnifies the emotion of the entire scene, and that song remains with us after the scene is done. Another thing that is really weird about this scene is what the narrator says at the end of the episode.
It is a secret we have known before Gohan could even form words in his mouth.
The narrator is saying here that we've known about Gohan's hidden power since before Gohan could even speak. But this is a mistake. It doesn't make any sense. We never see Gohan as a baby. And the first time that he shows this hidden power is at the beginning of Dragon Ball Z. So apparently by the time Funimation got to episode 184 of Dragon Ball Z, they had completely forgotten about the fact that we never got Gohan as a baby at the beginning of Dragon Ball Z. He could always speak.
What do you want to be when you grow up, Gohan?
An orthopedist.
Look, it is absolutely true that by the time Funimation got to this portion of the story, the dub had improved significantly. But the fact that we can still find stupid little mistakes like this is extremely frustrating. But here's one last thing that I want to point out. And this actually happens right before the Super Saiyan 2 transformation. It happens right after Cell destroys Android 16's head. In this moment, it seems that Funimation, for whatever reason, decided to insert a fake evil laugh. Why would they do this? I have no idea. It only detracts from this moment, and it's yet another awful choice. So what would I rate what Funimation did to this scene? Well, at the very least, they didn't just outright make up stuff like they used to do during the Ocean dub. But overall, I don't think this is a good adaptation, so I'm gonna have to give it a 3 out of 10. Next up, we have the Spanish Latin American dub, and there really isn't all that much to say because they kept the original Japanese song. Yes, they didn't even translate it, they just kept the original Japanese lyrics.
Finalmente, la furia de Gohan.
Now, I absolutely love this, but I understand Japanese. If you're talking about a product that is intended for a general audience that doesn't speak Japanese, if you keep the original Japanese, well, they're not going to get the full impact of the song. They're not going to understand the message and the lyrics of the song. So ideally, they would have gone with a Spanish version of this song. Aside from that, though, I have no complaints, so I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. Next up, we have Dragon Ball Kai, or as it's known in the US, Dragon Ball Z Kai. In this case, they didn't use UNMEI NO HI, instead they used an orchestral song. It's epic, it works with this scene, and it fits with the Dragon Ball Kai soundtrack. However, to be honest, this track that they used just doesn't stick in my head. And I watched this scene multiple times while I was preparing to do this video, but I would forget this track every single time. Even the Funimation version with the even that one was more memorable to me, even though I don't think it works in that scene. So again, this track in and of itself is great. I have no problem with it. I think it works in this moment. It's just not as memorable as the original song. So what would I rate this version? Well, I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. And finally, we get to Dragon Ball Z Abridged. Look, Dragon Ball Z Abridged is a parody, but this moment is not a parody. This moment is what Funimation should have done. What they did is they produced an English language version of UNMEI NO HI, and they did an incredible job. Look, this is not a one-to-one translation of the original Japanese. If you want a more literal translation, you can check out the Kanzenshuu translation. I'll include a link in the description. Translating song lyrics can be especially tricky, especially because you have to time it all out so it still fits with the song. And, well, Japanese lyrics can be especially challenging. So some changes are just unavoidable. But I think that even though there's a few changes here and there, none of them are major, and they're all completely in line with the original spirit of the song. Now, of course, the dialogue leading up to the Super Saiyan 2 transformation is not the same as what was in the source material. There's jokes in there, and there's some slight tweaks here and there. It's really well done, but it's not accurate. So I think it's important to acknowledge that. But what I'm focusing on here is the song, and the song itself is just about as good as it could possibly be. So I'm going to give this version of the Gohan Super Saiyan 2 transformation a 10 out of 10. So Team 4-Star, congrats, you win. Thanks for watching, guys. Let me know what you think. Do you agree with my ratings? What's your favorite version? And of course, don't forget to like and subscribe. More videos coming very soon. あそこなしの恐怖を引きずれ迫り来る邪悪な魂負けられない運命の分かれ目やるしかない夜明けに命をかけて